Tonight, or this morning, or in the middle of the day, wherever you are, I want you to hear those words not as a slogan, but as a doorway. We will walk through it slowly. We will sit down in a quiet room inside the mind, and we will open a single window. The light that comes through that window is an old light, older than our habits, older than our worries, older than the names we give them. The Stoics did not promise a life without storms. They promised a way to steer, and the one principle that turns a storm into wind at your back is simple enough to say in one breath. Focus only on what you can truly control, release everything else. It sounds like a line you might put on a coffee mug, but if you let it enter your bones, it becomes a method, a practice, a lens that can quietly end the reign of anxiety over your life. Why is this topic worth your time? Because anxiety steals time. It steals presence. It takes your attention, your most precious currency, and spends it on outcomes you cannot buy. Anxiety is a bad accountant. It writes numbers in the wrong columns. It confuses what is up to you with what isn't. And when you live with the books mixed up, you always feel short, always feel late, always feel like you owe a life you can't afford. Tonight, we balance the books, not by erasing worry with force, but by rewriting the ledger. Here is what depends on me. Here is what does not. The first column is small but decisive. The second is vast but irrelevant. Anxiety thrives when those two are blurred. It starves when they are kept clean. Before we begin, let's do something simple. Breathe. You're not trying to breathe well. You're just noticing that breath is one of the few things you can do on command. That also affects the weather inside you. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Counting, if you'd like, 4 in, 6 out. Do you feel the tiny space that opens? That is the space where Stoicism lives. Not in perfect calm. In the space where you can choose. Part 1. Naming the tyrant kindly. Anxiety is not a character flaw. It's not proof that you're weak or undisciplined. It's an ancient alarm system doing its job a bit too eagerly in a modern world. If a car cuts you off, if a text arrives with odd punctuation, if your boss adds a meeting with no subject line, your alarm system springs to its feet like an overeager guard dog. It barks, it paces. Sometimes it knocks over furniture. The Stoics would not scold the dog. They would give it a task and a leash. Notice how anxiety argues with you. It says, what if? It says, but we have to be sure. It says, we can't stand not knowing. And then it tries to solve the future. Have you ever caught yourself rehearsing an entire conversation that may never happen? Or replaying a moment that already happened as if you could edit it after the credits? Anxiety loves to manage what has not yet occurred and what cannot be altered. It loves to micromanage the weather, the market, the moods of other people. It is a brilliant manager assigned to the wrong department. So we start by naming that tyrant kindly. We say, you are energy, and I will give you a job that suits you. Protect what is up to me. Release what is not. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. I think of it as the clean split that frees you to act. Part 2. The one principle, lived instead of admired. You have heard this principle before in many forms. Control what you can, accept what you cannot, and know the difference. When it stays on a poster, it is decoration. When it enters your day, it becomes a key. How do we translate it from inspiration to habit? We begin with a question that interrupts anxiety at its route. Does this depend on me? The phrasing matters. Not, can I influence it a little? Not, if I work hard enough will it maybe change? But right now, does this depend on me? The answer divides your world in two. In the first world are your judgments, your decisions, your actions, your attention, your effort, your chosen words, your posture toward what occurs. In the second world are everything else, other people's opinions, the weather, the timing of a response, the outcome of a shot after it leaves your fingers, the company's quarterly results, the news cycle, the random chaos of matter colliding with matter. Anxiety always wants to put both worlds into your hands. It whispers that if you just think harder, you can force the second world to obey. It tells you to practice mind reading and fortune telling because maybe, just maybe, certainty will arrive if you sweat enough. And then it keeps you pacing between two doors that never open. The principle turns you round. It hands you the single door with your name on it, your choices. Go through that door. Stay there. Live there. Let me give you a small scene. You have a job interview tomorrow. Your heart drums like it's trying to signal a distant ship. The mind races. Will they like me? What if I freeze? What if they already chose someone else? Pause, breathe, ask the question, does this depend on me? Their opinion does not. The outcome does not. But your preparation does. Your sleep does. The notes you'll carry in your pocket. The 3 stories you've rehearsed. The way you greet the receptionist. The calm breath before each answer, these depend on you. So you set an alarm for bedtime. You print your notes. You write the names of your examples on an index card and tuck it into your bag. You visualize walking into the room and grounding yourself with one breath. The rest you release. It's not resignation. It is a clean handoff. If you keep it, you will fumble. If you hand it off, you can run. Part 3. The 4 movements that dissolve panic. We anchor the principle with 4 movements. They are not magical. They are practical. First, notice. Second, name. Third, narrow. Fourth, next, you notice the sensation, tightness in the chest, buzzing in the mind, the heat of 1,000 what-ifs. You do not judge the sensation. You say, there you are. You name the moment. Anxiety is here. It may sound odd to speak to yourself, but naming creates distance. You become the one who sees, not the one being swept away. Then you narrow. You ask the question, what part of this depends on me? Narrowing is the act of shrinking a large fog into a small, clear task. Finally, next. You choose one next action that is fully yours to take, and you take it. Imagine you are waiting for medical results. The mind spins into the future like a top. Notice, name. Narrow, I do not control the result or the timing. I do control how I spend this hour. Next, I will walk for 15 minutes, then make a comforting meal, then read 10 pages of a novel. This is not denial. It is stewardship. You are stewarding your life back from the vast ocean of uncertainty into the small, meaningful harbor of the present. Anxiety weakens when it cannot multiply. It multiplies through attention. Withdraw the attention and it shrinks. Part 4. The archer and the target. The Stoics loved images. One of their favorites is the archer. You can choose the bow, practice your stance, steady your breath, aim as carefully as your training allows. You can release the arrow with the smoothness your muscles have learned. But once the arrow leaves your fingers, wind belongs to the world. The last inch of flight does not obey you. So your job ends at release. Your peace should end there too. Anxiety tries to follow the arrow into the air. It leaps after it, flailing at the wind. It tries to grab the tail of the arrow and drag it into the bull's eye. And when it fails, it punishes you for not having wings. The one principle calls you back to your lane. Stance, breath, aim, release. That is not small. It is everything that was ever up to you. When you live like the archer, you are not passive. You are precise. You do not try to control the wind. You become skillful at everything that happens before the wind matters. Consider your work. There are days when outcomes wobble beyond reason. A project fails because a market shifted. A client disappears because another offer arrived on the right day with the right mood attached. If you look only at results, you ride a roller coaster that never stops. If you stand in your part, the preparation, the clarity, the candor, the care, you step off the ride, you will still feel the lurch. You are human, but you will not be ruled. You will not abandon your craft because weather exists. Part 5. Relationships without mind reading. Anxiety in relationships is often an attempt at mind reading. We try to control another person's thoughts by rehearsing for them. Have you noticed this? You replay your last message and interpret a pause as judgment. You craft 3 different versions of a reply and imagine 3 different timelines, branching into 3 different futures. You build a house inside someone else's head and try to live there rent-free. It is exhausting. It is also impossible. Does this depend on me? Not their opinion, not their history, not the patterns they acquired before they met you. What depends on you is the clarity of your speech, the kindness of your tone, the honesty of your boundary, the dignity with which you ask for what you need, and the courage to tolerate silence without inventing a story to fill it. Imagine a conversation you've been avoiding. You fear the reaction. You fear being misunderstood. Bring in the principle. You cannot control whether they approve. You can control how cleanly you speak, so you write a few sentences that carry your meaning. You practice them out loud when no one is listening. You choose a time to speak that respects both of your schedules. You expect discomfort and welcome it as the price of truth. And when the moment arrives, you breathe, you stand in your lane, and you speak. If the conversation goes sideways, you remain steady. You do not chase what you cannot command. You do not corner the other person into your outcome. You show up, you tell the truth, you listen, you adjust what is yours to adjust. Then you let the arrow fly. Part 6. The rituals that rewire attention. The dichotomy of control is simple. Living it is a practice, and practice loves rituals. We will build 3. The first ritual is the morning ledger. Before the day begins its noise, open your notebook and draw a single vertical line down the page. On the left, right depends on me. On the right, right does not. Then list. Not everything you can think of, but only what you can think of today. On the left, your habits, your effort, the conversations you intend to have, the small boundary you've decided to guard, the single problem you can move forward. On the right, other people's reactions, the news of the world, the final results, the tone of an email you have not received. Close the notebook. You have assigned the eager guard dog to the correct door. When anxiety shows up in the afternoon with a bark, you point to the ledger, right door, not ours. The mind will learn. The second ritual is the evening audit. At day's end, ask one gentle question. Where did I try to control what wasn't mine? Do not shame yourself. Be curious. Maybe you noticed that you checked your messages 8 times in 10 minutes waiting for an answer. Maybe you noticed that you told a friend what they should feel when what they needed was permission to feel it. Then ask, what did I control well today? Include simple things. I showed up on time. I moved my body. I declined one invitation that didn't fit my priorities. You are training your attention to reward what is yours. The mind repeats what earns its praise. The third ritual is the breath-to-choice loop. It is the smallest and most portable. Whenever anxiety taps your shoulder, you take one intentional breath and follow it with one intentional choice. Breath, then choice. Waiting in line and feeling the heat rise. Breath, then the choice to observe your surroundings rather than pick up your phone. Sitting at your desk and the worry begins to spread like ink. Breath, then the choice to open the document you've been avoiding and write one sentence. Standing outside a door you're afraid to open. Breath, then the choice to knock. Breath is the bridge between noticing and doing. The loop is the path you can walk 100 times a day without anyone seeing, until anxiety grows bored of knocking on a door that never opens. Part 7. View from above, view from within. Another Stoic tool is the view from above. It's not an escape from life. It's a way of loosening the grip of urgency. Picture yourself from the ceiling, then from the rooftop, then from the sky. You see the street, the city, the continent, the blue curve of the earth. You see your worry from that height like a small pebble on a long beach. Does it disappear? No, but it shrinks to its true size. From that height, the second world, the one that never belonged to you, becomes obvious. Weather patterns move. People cross paths. Entire histories flow like rivers. Your part is the small, shining boat you steer. Now return to the view from within. Feel your hands. Feel your breath. Feel the ground. You have a body. You are not just a thought. Anxiety often lives in wordless sensations. So we become skillful in the body. We learn the difference between a signal and a story. The signal is the flutter of your heart, the tightening of your gut, the electric buzz behind the eyes. The story is this means disaster. The story is optional. The signal is not your fault. The story is your choice. When a signal arrives, you can choose to become the host who welcomes a guest, not the hostage who obeys a voice. You can tell the sensation, you may stay. I will choose the meaning. The view from above keeps you humble and spacious. The view from within keeps you grounded and kind. Together they create a room where anxiety cannot shout as loudly. And in that room, you practice the one principle again and again. Like a musician returning to a scale, like a carpenter returning to a square and a level, like a pilot returning to the instruments even when instinct tries to panic. Part 8. Handling uncertainty without bargains. One of anxiety's favorite games is bargaining with uncertainty. If I prepare perfectly, it says, then nothing bad will happen. If I stay vigilant, then surprises will be prevented. But the world is not a vending machine that dispenses certainty when you feed it enough perfection. When we bargain with uncertainty, we end up exhausted and no safer. The Stoic principle invites a different posture. It says, "Let uncertainty be what it is, and let me be who I am in the presence of it." This does not mean recklessness. It means focusing on what makes you sturdy. If the future is foggy, become the sort of person who can walk in fog. You do that by living inside your circle of control. You keep promises to yourself. You prepare without over-preparing. You tell the truth quickly. You repair quickly when you harm. You rest in proportion to your effort. You cultivate friendships that tell you when you're fooling yourself and cheer you when you're honest. You ask for help without shame, because needing help is within the human condition, and asking is within your control. What happens when a genuine crisis arrives? The principle does not evaporate. It becomes a compass. You cannot control the crisis, but you can control your conduct. You can fulfill your roles with honor: caretaker, colleague, friend, neighbor. You can make small, wise choices in sequence. You can hold together what is within your hands instead of trying to hold together the sky. And when you later look back, you will see that strength is not the absence of fear, but the presence of focus. Part 9. Negative visualization without catastrophizing. The Stoics practiced a method called premeditatio malorum, rehearsing potential difficulties. Done poorly, it becomes pure catastrophizing. Done well, it inoculates. The difference, again, is the principle. You imagine what could go wrong only long enough to plan what you would do. That is within your control. You don't camp in the disaster. You walk through it to the shelf where the tools are kept. Let's say you fear a presentation falling flat. You visualize the projector failing. What is within your control? You print handouts. You practice without slides. You prepare a story you can tell with nothing but your voice. You visualize a tough question. What is within your control? You craft an answer that begins with, "That's a fair question. Here's how I'm thinking about it," and you make peace with saying, "I don't know," followed by, "I'll find out." You visualize an interruption. What is within your control? You keep your footing. You thank the interrupter, and you return to your thread. You are not inviting disaster. You are rehearsing dignity. Part 10. The gentle strength of allowing. Anxiety often hides inside resistance. We brace against feelings we don't want it to feel, thoughts we don't want it to think, moments we don't want it to have. Racing multiplies pain. Allowing softens it. Allowing is not passivity. It is a strong permission. You allow reality to be what it is so that your energy can move where it matters. You allow a wave of worry to pass through the body like weather through a valley. You allow a mistake to exist without shattering your identity. You allow other people to be themselves without bending your boundaries to win their approval. Permission is powerful because it keeps you in your lane. When you stop arguing with the part of reality you cannot command, you recover strength for the part you can. If a plan changes, you allow that it changed and you adjust. If a person disappoints you, you allow that they made a choice and you make a new one. If a feeling arrives uninvited, you allow that feeling's visit, and you continue acting from your values. This is the quiet courage of Stoicism, not the iron mask of indifference, but the flexible backbone of acceptance tied to action. Part 11. A story of two rooms. Let me tell you a small story you can carry. Imagine your life as a house with two rooms. In the first room are the levers that connect to your choices. When you pull them, something happens. Your posture changes. Your voice warms. Your calendar reflects your true priorities. Your feet move you toward the task. In the second room are panels covered with fake switches labeled other people's approval. Global events, the past, tomorrow. They click when you flip them, and they light up, but nothing in the world changes. Anxiety loves the second room. It loves the noise, the illusion, the thrill of activity without responsibility. You will still visit the second room. Curiosity will take you there. Old habits will take you there. But now you know. When you catch yourself flipping the fake switches, smile as if you've walked into the wrong class. Excuse yourself. Walk down the hall. Enter the first room. Grasp a real lever and pull gently. Something true will move. It might be small: a single email sent, a single apology spoken, a single page read. a single dish washed, a single breath. But you will feel the click of reality. The world will have changed a little, and your anxiety will have lost a little of its oxygen. Part 12, Making Peace with Imperfection. Perfectionism is anxiety's lawyer. It argues that if you just get everything exactly right, you will be safe. But exactly right is a mirage that moves a step away whenever you move a step closer. The Stoic principle cuts through this by redefining success. Success is excellence in what is up to you. Excellence is not flawless. It is faithful. Were you faithful to the task in front of you? Did you give your honest effort? Did you course correct when you saw error? Then you succeeded, regardless of outcome. If the result is poor, you learn. If the result is good, you remain humble because you know the wind also mattered. This mindset frees you to begin. How many projects live in a drawer because anxiety whispers? Not yet. Wait until you can guarantee applause? The guarantee never comes. Begin anyway. Make a version 1. Publish a small thing. Ask for feedback from someone who loves the truth more than they love your comfort. Then make a version 2. And watch what happens to anxiety when it sees that you are moving, with or without its permission. Part 13, When the night is loud. There will be nights when the mind refuses to rest, when what-ifs line up like a parade and march across your pillow. On those nights, you borrow calm from structure. You might keep a small notepad by the bed. Write down a single sentence. This is for morning me. Name the task or the worry and promise yourself you will review it with coffee. Anxiety respects organization. It loses some power when it sees that tomorrow has an agenda and it is not in charge of it. If sleep still hides, practice the view from above in a softer way. Imagine your room floating in space with 100,000 other rooms where people are also awake and thinking thoughts that will never come true. Let the thought of your shared humanity be a comfort. You are not the only one who has tried to think the future into submission at 3 in the morning. You are one of us, learning, trying, stumbling, practicing. Wrap yourself in that knowledge and breathe. Part 14, Teaching the Principle to Others. One reliable way to deepen a practice is to teach it, not with lectures, but with presence. If you lead a team, let them see you praise effort and process even when results wobble. If you are a parent, let your child see you apologize quickly and return to the task, rather than rage at fate. If you are a friend, ask the question gently when worries grow. Which part of this is yours? Offer to sit with them while they do the next small thing. Be the steady one in the boat who doesn't try to quiet the storm by shouting at the clouds, but by rowing. When you live this way, something quiet spreads. People feel safer around you because you are not trying to control them. They feel challenged in the best way because your example reminds them of their own agency. You become a place of gravity in a world of spinning plates, and your own anxiety finds fewer places to hide because teaching exposes the corners where you still bargain with uncertainty. That is good news. You want to see the corners. Light dissolves shadow. Part 15, The Principle in a Sentence You Can Carry. You may forget most of what you've heard tonight. That is expected. Memory has its own tides. So carry a sentence. Carry it in your pocket, on your lock screen, on the back of your hand if you have to. I will invest fully in what depends on me, and I will release everything else. When the pulse quickens, when the email delays, when the meeting goes strange, touch the sentence, say it. Then take one breath and one action that proves you believe it. Belief is not a feeling, it is a repeatable move.